For most people in this continent, the mobile phone was the first compute unit they had access to. The mobile phone is the primary device where everything is done. Most of the mobile devices that you have here, they do not have as much compute, maybe 4 GB RAM, limited storage space. Most entrepreneurs here are fighting fires every other single day. And so the question for us is like, how do we empower them with tools to help them reduce the load, but also help them to be more efficient?
So my then boyfriend would ask, what should I do to like soften my beard? Like when I went to the shops, there was nothing. We started with one product, and then since then we've grown into a full product line.
Hairstyling has been there in my family for quite a minute. When I was growing up, my mom was a hairstylist. My aunties were hairstylists. We've had this salon for exactly 4 years. I can say everything was being written down on paper. Digital is the future, and it is inevitable.
Fastaga is an edge AI intelligence company. Currently on Microsoft, we use the Azure Kubernetes service. That's where all our cloud infrastructure normally sits.
We are able to use the data from Aoni to actually strategize on our social media marketing. We actually get to know which days are busier, which hours are more busy.
And this process basically happens whereby we take their mobile money statements or their transaction data and give them a sense of business intelligence or business assistance.
We started using Aoni end of 2023. You're able to track your even expenditure. You're able to track your inventory. You're able to make decisions on how to do your online ads. You'll create employment. You'll be able to be efficient and reduce waste, because if a product is not working, you have to stop it because the numbers would lie. The numbers are there. You're not guessing or seeing, you're knowing.
We act local, but think global. Our vision is to be Africa's largest technological export. What can we bring to the global world in terms of rethinking about compute or thinking about machine learning models? What is it about low constraint environments that fundamentally we can teach the world about?